And hello and welcome to the Engagement Tree. And today we have a very special guest, a long-time friend of the Strive Group, Simon Caulton, an inventor, creator, entrepreneur of a brand new brand of lifestyle trainers that he'll tell you all about, but also the journey that he's undergone and how this is his second term in isolation in the past few years. Welcome first to my online partner, Sarah Sanders, but a very warm welcome to Simon Caulton. Hi, Simon. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yourselves?
Very
Good.
well, very well.
Not bad.
Good to hear.
And another week very quickly is coming closer to an end. The speed at which these days and weeks are flying by is scary. I think scary.
It's quicker than you think. When they say that's isolation for the next 3 weeks, you think, oh God, 3 weeks, and another week's passed already. So it's not that bad sometimes.
Well, we're also we're next Thursday sees the next announcement of any kind of changes and structure. So you're quite right. I think we're approaching this 5 weeks. We're approaching 6 weeks next week. It seems like no time at all.
It does.
I suppose you've been through this kind of isolation, albeit in a different setting before. Tell us the story, Reid. Tell us your side of it.
Yeah, as you said, it's kind of probably my third stint actually in isolation, because I can break it down into three sort of sections, and it all starts when obviously my daughter Mia got diagnosed with cancer, and we spent 9 months in Birmingham Children's Hospital. And when I say we spent 9 months there, we literally spent 9 months there. It was a couple of weeks or a couple of days that we had at home. But because Mia was only 7 months old, she was so susceptible to infections. So we spent a majority of that 9 months in a side ward in isolation. She'd have a cold or a cough or whatever it might be. Because it was an oncology ward, there was a risk for the other children. So we get carted off into a side room, and this side room was no more than 5 metres by 5 metres square. It had a camp bed, a cot, and a chair, and a TV, and that was it, you know. And because of the isolation, some of the times we couldn't use the parent room, and the parent room is where you went and cooked your meals and so on and so on. We had a Ronald McDonald charity room, so our essential travel, if you like, was to the Ronald McDonald room, back to the hospital. Ronald McDonald room, back to the hospital. No visitors, no friends could come and see you. Couldn't really speak to anybody on the ward. Sometimes this was a couple of days. Sometimes this could be a couple of weeks. So, you know, isolated with a sick child in a 5x5 room, it's different in a way, because you switch off anyway to the outside world because of what's going on in front of you. You know, your daughter is the most priority thing in the world, so the isolation doesn't seem to really matter. It's not until you actually come out and reflect, you realise the circumstances of what it was and how difficult it was. You know, you'd have to depend on going to get some food. You didn't know where you're going to get the next food from, because, you know, you're trying to balance in between not seeing too many people because of risk of infection yourself, going onto the ward and so on. So it's a very similar to what we've got now, but the difference is that it was just us, or apart from other families that were probably facing the same thing on the ward. So that was my first encounter of isolation. But as I said, you switched off to it because of the circumstances. Because Mia was undergoing intense chemotherapy, so she was ill. You know, she needed 24/7 care. The second then is when we came out of hospital eventually. Mia was obviously still sick and she was still under the hospital, so still having chemo. And this time, both myself and my partner Andrew were out. We decided to step away from our businesses. But after a few months, obviously, one of us had to go back to work. So it was easy for Andrew to go back to work because it was 3 miles away, whereas most of my clients were 6,000 miles away. So then I ended up being a stay-at-home dad with Mia. And at first, you know, this is the right thing to do. And it's not until a few months afterwards, you've got a sick child, so you couldn't have visitors. You couldn't take her out, so you couldn't go out. So then you ended up being isolated in your own home. So that was the second stage of isolation. Obviously, this is the third. So, you know, I've been down this path before, and it's tough. You know, it is tough, especially the one when I was at home on my own. because I wasn't prepared for it at all. I don't think you can prepare for isolation. The difference is that at the moment everybody's locked down, everybody's isolated, so you can kind of share that pain. It's difficult to explain to your friends that you're feeling isolated when they're at work or at the pub or at the friends, because they're just leading a normal life. So you do feel very isolated anyway, and not just being at home, but isolated. And it's hard. And what I've learned from that experience is what I'm trying to put into this experience. And when I talk to my friends and yourselves, I try and explain to you and everybody else, well, I've been in isolation. This is kind of luxury isolation, if I can say that, because I'm at home with my partner, with my daughter who's healthy and doing really well. The sun's been shining. I've got my own sofa to sit on. I've got my own bed to sleep on. I've got 4 or 5 rooms I can go into. I've stayed in a 5 by 5 meter room for weeks and weeks and weeks, just going there, from there to the McDonald's room, not even going home. So, I've got a bit of experience of isolation, I must admit, and and I'm still here to tell the tale. So it's although it does get to you and it gets you down, there is an end to it. There'll be a door that opens at the end. You can walk through it. That's what you're always going to keep telling yourself.
And how old's Mia now, Simon?
She's 3 years and 5 months.
And how is it for her? Myself having a 10-year-old daughter, borderline teenager. Sarah has a teenager. So we have, I suppose, older children who you would hope could occupy themselves for a large period of time. How is it having effectively a toddler in isolation and trying to work as well?
Tiring, very, very tiring. She's an absolute ball of energy. She has a zest for life, which is fantastic to see for what she's been through. But to keep her occupied all day is a challenge. It really is, and I'm sure the parents will tell you exactly the same. I know families with 2 or 3 children of 3, 4, 5, and 6 of them. They must be finding it really tough. Honestly, my heart goes out to them. I've only got one, and I find it challenging. It helps with Ange being at home, which I'm not used to having. That second pair of hands, that certainly helps. But I feel sorry for her because she's at the age where she's understanding. So we did a little video of her the other week, and we just caught her. She was saying, "I miss my friends. I want to go to nursery." And we tried to explain to her that everywhere's closed and her friends can't go to nursery. But I feel sorry for her in a way as well, because just up towards Christmas, November, Christmas time, she's been well. So she's been going to nursery 2 or 3 times a week, every week, whereas before it's been half a day here, and so on, with the treatment. And this year she's been going every week. She's been having a really great time at nursery. So all of a sudden she feels like, a bit like herself, she stepped out of lockdown, out of isolation, enjoying running around, and she's back in isolation. So, and I can see it's tough for her because, she wants to run around with her friends, of course, she does the same as we do. So it is affecting her, definitely. And it is hard to entertain her, it really is.
So, Simon, having obviously experienced a different level of isolation previously, this is, like you say, your version of luxury isolation. Have you still had days or periods of time during the days where you have struggled with kind of staying positive and seeing light at the end of the tunnel? How much has it impacted you kind of on a personal level this time?
Yeah, I have had bad days. I'm never going to sit here and say everything's rosy, because it's not. And I think it's affected me because not my business that Ben mentioned at the beginning once. I was supposed to launch it next month, May. That was the plan. And, I was geared up to launch this business I've been working on for 18 months, and it's not going to happen. So, that has really, it knocks your confidence, all that work you put into it. And then also you sit there thinking, well, is it ever going to work now? Are people going, when people come out of this, there's going to be, we're going to have a different norm. We're going to have a different way of living and spending our money probably, certainly to start with. So it has affected me because now I'm thinking, if I put all that time into something that's not going to happen. And I also feel, also have my lonely days as well. Angie's busy, she's got her own job and stuff, so she's up in the office, and it feels like I've gone back in time. So I'm now with me at home, whereas I was getting out and about to meetings. So yeah, I do have my bad days.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Probably for a lot of people, it's that thinking time. The thinking time is ridiculous now, isn't it? The amount of time that you can ruminate, create situations in your head that possibly don't exist, that do exist. There's lots to, the uncertainty, I think, plays on that with you massively, doesn't it? And it's hard to switch that off because concerns are real, I guess.
Yeah, and I think what happens is there's the guilt sets in, you know, and that guilt comes in different ways. There's a guilt of you put too much pressure on yourself. Yeah. You put too much pressure on yourself to do too many things. You know, especially if you've never worked from home before, and all of a sudden you're at home, you try and work as if you was at work, and it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. Even if you work from home generally, it's a different environment. You know, it's a very different way of working. It's something that I had to learn. And I went through the hard time learning it when I first started Wands up. You know, the isolation. It's nice to have someone in the office to bounce an idea off and just talk to and things. So you do put pressure on yourself to put too much in your day. Then what happens is you don't do all the tasks that you want to do because you're at home. So after a week of it, a few days, you start feeling guilty and you start putting the pressure on yourself, and that can lead to you then too much time to think, depression, not feeling great about things, because that's what happened to me. So I know from experience, as I said, I'm no expert in these fields, but I have a lot of experience. I think it's nice to share. The other side of it is that you end up planning to do things and do nothing. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow doesn't come. And as we just said at the start, you know, we're 5 weeks in already, and there's some jobs I wanted to get done I haven't got done. But I'm not going to beat myself up. Take me back 18 months ago, I'd have beat myself up for it, but I've learned not to do that because you know, you have to have time to adjust your way of thinking and your way of looking at your workload. But the advice that I give is try and stick to a routine, and that's me getting up at 5 o'clock because you used to get up at 5 o'clock, because it doesn't work like that. By the time 12 o'clock comes around, you're going to be really bored and tired. You know, get up in the morning, get changed, have a shower, brush your teeth, have a breakfast. Do the things that you would normally do if you was going to work, and then put a few things in your day that you know you can achieve. Don't put a load of work in there, because you won't do it. You won't get it achieved, or you burn yourself out trying to do it. It's a real tricky one to do, and you know, we've all got our own personal experiences. I can just speak for myself, but you know, just put a couple of things in your day and get them done. If you don't get them done that day, it's not the end of the world. But if you start to get your third and fourth day and you've done nothing, and you end up just coming downstairs and you sit on the sofa, and you're not brushing your teeth till after lunch. Trust me, I've been there. I've got to that stage. You know, then I think, oh God, I've just been on in a couple of hours. I've looked like I've been up for a while to go and get changed. And I think that's a hard place to end up. You do end up starting to go down a bit of a hole, a hill, and I'm talking from personal experience. I think that's when my mental health issues really started to kick in, because you lose your sense of self-worth, your sense of self-purpose, and those sort of things. That starts to kick in on top of it, because you're just not achieving anything. And then there's also the pressure of what you're going to go back to. You know, what's it going to look like? But you know, in these times, what I can say is that try and speak to somebody every day if you can. There's no excuses. You've got so much technology. You know, there's this what we're doing, there's phone, there's email, there's everything. Try and speak to somebody daily. That's one of the things that I didn't do. I was isolated at home with Mia, and a past experience will tell you that I shut myself off. I ended up isolating myself because I felt isolated, and it was the worst thing I did. Absolutely the worst thing I did. Because then when I did reach out to speak to somebody, I found it really hard, because I got so much pressure on me to sort of not talk to anyone. I hadn't spoken to anyone. So yeah, one of the key advice I'd give for any of these things is just try and speak to somebody every day, or every couple of days, whether it be a friend, family, a work member, or something. Yeah, you know, or just go onto virtual meetings, or there's loads of blogs you can go on and things like that. That is the important thing, and I'll say that from a complete experience.
I think the fear and anxiety thing, I think I see that a lot, and I see there's an awful lot of people who are trying to second guess what's going to come. Is anything going to change? Is it going to stay the same? Well, we already know that certain elements are going to change. Retail environments are going to change. hospitality areas are going to change. We're not really sure when these things will open up. People are second guessing when we can start going back to the pub and socialising. People are when we can go out for restaurants, when we can get back in the gym. And I think I've been guilty of it a couple of times over this past 5 weeks, almost trying to play in my mind when's this going to go back to normal, and thinking, well, actually at the moment this is what it is. This is all I can affect. This is all I can change. This is what I have to deal with, which is the presence. Stop worrying about what's going to happen in 3, 4, 5 months' time, because actually none of us know. None of us know.
You can't control it. I think it's about control, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like to be in control of everything, and for different reasons I struggle because I'm trying to control things that I have absolutely no control over.
Yeah.
And then that all implodes if you continue like that.
Well, it's saying, you know, take myself back 2 years when we came out of hospital with Mia. You know, I have been a control person. I was running my own business. I was flying abroad and all those sort of things. And that control was taken away. You know, I didn't know it was happening like that. I didn't realise when I stepped away from my business back in 2018 that I was never going to go back to it. I had no idea at the time. And I stopped worrying about it. You might say what I was doing was too busy concentrating on, well, what about when I'm back to work, And in the end, I just thought, I don't know when I'm going to go back to work.
Yeah.
So, and you just got to sort of, the here and now is the important bit. And the mental health side of it's a real big part of it. And I know a lot of people are talking about it. And I keep stressing, I talk about it from an experience point of view.
So when you pulled back on that control, what did you do to change things?
I think for me, there was 2 elements of it. I had a daughter that needed care, so that was always priority amongst everything. And if I'm honest, it was probably, if I can say it, it was a saviour. I think because Mia was my complete responsibility, and she just obviously she's a toddler, so she relies on me fully. It stopped me from using other methods of filling my day, drinking, that sort of thing, you know. And I think that's the other thing that you've got to remember not to do is your coping mechanisms. Don't use the wrong coping mechanisms. You know, it's true because I started to a little bit, but I said I think because I had Mia, I didn't go down that route, and it sort of saved me from being that sort of whatever path that would have taken me on, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's a slippery slope. We spoke earlier in the week, and I've not to excess, but I've had a drink every day in isolation. I spoke last week. Not to the point where I've been intoxicated or drunk or anything, but certainly I've had a drink every day. And rightly or wrongly, around about 5 o'clock, I'll take the dog for a walk, come back, have a drink, as a routine, and that almost breaks up the end of my day. What I've found is that I've then picked out the laptop and started working again. But you're talking about routine and setting things in place and finding,
that's it.
I suppose, finding hooks, really, isn't it? Finding hooks that keep you grounded.
I'm not saying it's, you know, go to total, because I've had a drink. Of course I have. You know, I've had days where I've had a few drinks. You know, because you do. You know, you're at home, the sun's been shining, we're sitting in the garden. Blimey, that's the worst. Beautiful time, but the worst time not to feel like having a drink. But you've hit the nail on the head, though, Ben. You've got a routine, you have a drink, but then you start working. You're kind of finding your new routine, if you like, and it works for you. You know, that's, and if it means a beer at 5 o'clock and you carry on working, you know, there's no right or wrong answer at the end of the day. But, you know, it's finding.
And that comes back to, sorry, Simon, that comes back to the guilt that you mentioned before, doesn't it? I know quite a few friends who never ever drink at home, ever. It's completely out of the ordinary, unless they've got guests around, visitors around, friends around, and they're drinking at home. And like you say, then playing it back and feeling guilty, whether it's health, weight, just the fact that they're sat there pouring a glass of wine at 4:30, 5 o'clock. But this is momentarily, although it seems like it's never going to end, that's not going to happen in 3 months' time when we're out of lockdown and back at work, hopefully. So why put that much pressure on yourself to feel bad about doing something that is actually helping you get through? And I'm not
Exactly.
condoning it. It doesn't even have to be alcohol. It could be anything. I'm talking food, alcohol, whatever you're doing. Sitting watching Netflix for 5 hours and then feeling bad because you've wasted your day. That guilt is putting the pressure on even more so.
Yeah, and I think there's another way of looking at it as well. Is that there's the people that are probably like ourselves, really, that are die-hard workers. We get up in the morning, we fill our day, and we'll work till 9 o'clock at night, and we like to make sure that we've done a good 14 or 15 hours. It feels like we've achieved. What you can remember is that why don't you use this time to watch a box set of Netflix?
Yeah.
Because when you do go back to work, trust me, you'll go back to your 12 and 13, 14 hours because that's you, that's your character, that's your personality. So it's also good to use this time, have some downtime, spend some time with the family. You know, a lot of us always moan that we don't get enough time with our family. We're stuck with them now, to be fair. You know, it's a bit much some days, but, you know, make the most of it. So there's the other side of where, again, don't feel guilty about sitting in front of the TV watching Netflix. You've probably already done the last few weeks before we went on stage, probably did 60 or 70 hours a week. So why not sit yourself down, have a glass of wine and watch Netflix? Again, it's your personal journey that you're on. It's just making sure you don't fall down the wrong coping mechanisms and the wrong, you know, the wrong directions. That's I know because I've been down that way. So it's hard to get yourself back on top and back on form.
It is, but I suppose with isolation and with incidents such as this and times in our lives where we are forced into a particular situation, good things, great things can also happen. Isaac Newton founded the theory of gravity and motion, I believe, during a pandemic, the fire of London. I may have got that wrong, but it's certainly during a period of chaos and crisis, he founded that theory. And I believe yourself, your journey and your new journey, I suppose, started in a kind of similar lockdown situation.
Yeah, as we started at the beginning about my isolation, you know, the second isolation period being at home. I think at times like this, there's positives that you have to try and draw upon. For me, I had a realization that I wasn't going to go back to my old job. I kind of had this realization, as much as it took me a few months to get my head around it, and that's when I started to spiral a little bit. You have to reinvent yourself. And normally when you're bored, you're most creative. And if it wasn't for me being where I was in the lockdown isolation situation, etc., Wands wouldn't have existed at all. You know, Wands has existed from and inspired from our journey totally. But whilst I was at home with Mia and isolated, it gave me time to reinvent myself, to research, to read books, to watch YouTube videos and stuff on, in my case, you know, trainers, making trainers, you know, the retail market, what it was like, you know, I use that time. And that's when I started to, you know, turn a corner with my mental health issues, started to get them under control. You know, I was talking to somebody that was helping, but finding the new me, the new reinvention, was a massive turning corner. And I think it comes back to the point where the uncertainty, anxiety, maybe turn it into a positive, because you probably don't know what you're going to go back to. You probably don't know if you're going to go back to a job. So there's this period now that we've got left. There's loads of online training. Is it time to change your career? Is it time to think about, well, actually, I didn't really enjoy my job anyway. We've got this time at home. There's loads of training courses. There's loads of free training courses. There's loads of cheap training courses, whatever it might be. Or you might just want to put a new, you know, a new skill, a new, you know, to your already career. So it's a kind of using this time also to be positive about it.
I completely agree, and I think there's an awful lot of self-development and opportunities for people to look at their own careers, their own hobbies, their own passions, and this is a fantastic time to really grow those, to understand them, to learn more about anything. read more books, engage in more online activity. Yeah, I think that you're quite right. Don't look back on this as an opportunity lost. This is, if you've got that business idea like you had, why not use this time to explore it in more detail? If you've always had that book you wanted to read, or you've always had that training course that you wanted to take, I know that certainly if anybody's watching this and anybody needs support in finding a professional development course that might be suitable to them, that's something that us at the Strive Group are more than accomplished with and happy to support people and help with. So we're very much about self-development and offering people the opportunity to better themselves. And you're right, I think it will be interesting to look back on this in 5-10 years time and think that started during COVID-19, or because of COVID-19 this has been invented, or this has started, and really to see what effect this has on new products or new opportunities. And actually how the world changes now.
I mean, with Ange being at home, I've got some jobs on the house done, which is for me, thank God for that. They've been there for some time, and when you've got a 2 and 3 year old around you, you can't go up a ladder doing the stuff on the roof and stuff like that. I've got those things done, so that makes me feel happy and productive. But from a business point of view, so this is where I think I look back on this period and think, well, you know what, I haven't done nothing on business, even though it's postponed. And it's going to be August, maybe September before I launch. The product's pretty much signed off, etc. Or it was. As we was going into this sort of unknown certainty in February, March, I decided to change the complete design of the outsole of the trainer. Completely. A very bold move. But, I thought, well, I've got some time that I didn't have. It's something that we've been toying with and talking about. So I spoke to the manufacturers and said, look, we'll talk about this outsole. Can we have a look at it? Okay. But then we had this, I wouldn't say problem, but it's like normally they would send me the soles over, I'd have a look at them, choose one, and tell them okay, and then they'd make the product and they'd send it over. So we couldn't do that because there's nobody operating, sending things backwards and forwards. The product's being made in China, so they were on lockdown before we were. So the other thing that's also done, which is a positive that I've never done before, so I've made a massive design change to the trainers. We've done it virtually. We've done it by phones, video calls, and instead of them I've got the sole in front of me, the guys at the manufacturer said, there's the sole. Do you like it? They've done this sort of thing. I've gone, oh yeah, quite like that. What's the other one you've got? The other one looks like this. I like that. We've already agreed that the technology behind it and what the comfort and feel is. It's just style. So they went away, put them in, the ones I picked on a trainer. Then I haven't got a trainer in me. Then they got the trainer left. So then they get a trainer and they'd hold it up like this, And we've actually done a massive design change to ones in this time. Not only that, we've done it virtually. And so, I actually feel quite proud of the fact that we've done that, and we've done it using the new technology. So it is quite.
So for you, it's not only giving you a focus, it's had a positive outcome because we've seen the change, and it definitely is for the best. It looks great. But you've learned a new skill in doing it. I think social media can put a lot of pressure on people at times like this I see 25 of my friends out exercising every day or doing a massive amount of homeschooling with their kids, creating castles in the living room, whatever. And then everybody else looking at it feels like, I let my child watch the iPad for 3 hours, and I have friends with younger kids and I'm getting this off them every day. I think it's about making something that's right for you, isn't it? Finding the positive that fits your life, your family life, your work life, and then trying to focus on that. And when you deviate to the part where you're down and you struggle, just take yourself out of that situation, even if it's going into a different room or stopping, flicking through your phone and going, I don't know, like Ben says, read a book. And not everyone likes reading. I hate reading. Go for a walk. Just take yourself out of the moment of now. And as soon as you do that, it can just allow your brain to switch off and refocus, or pick up the phone.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it does, and that's where you start to be a little bit more creative, and you know, you come with a bit more positive outlook. So we did quite a bit of work with one of McDonald's charity, obviously, for what they've done for us. So an email came in to us, because all the charities, you know, are struggling with financially.
Yeah.
So they emailed us and said they're doing this 0 to Hero 25, and you know, just something 25 times or whatever it might be. And we always say, yeah, leave it with us. And it's normally myself or Ange that will do something. And, you know, we sort of sat down, and it was Ange that came with the idea. I said, let's put some circuits out from here. So we built a little circuits in the garden. Luckily, the weather was good. And she went around 25 times. I mean, she did it in five stints, because, you know, it's quite tiring. And she's raised, you know, over £1,300. So, you know, that's the other thing that we've done in this lockdown, completely unplanned. It came through, and I just thought, yeah, why not? So, you know, you have got, I will look back on some of these days that I have wasted, and I've had some downtimes. Let's not paint a rainbow and unicorn picture here, because it's not always like that. But at least, you know, towards you guys, it helps me reflect and say, actually, you know, I've done all right these last 5 weeks. So, Mia's raised some money for a fantastic charity. I've done some design changes to the trainer, and I've also started to look at the next range and put it together and talk to the designer. So, you know, you've got to reflect, and you've got to sort of give yourself a pat on the back as well. You know, it isn't all about too much pressure and the anxiety. There's that time, but if you want to sit and watch a box set on Netflix, you don't normally do it, give yourself a pat on the back, because you've done what you said you were going to do a year ago. Caught up with Breaking Bad or whatever it might be, but because you've been so busy with work, why not? You know, why not give yourself that time and give yourself a pat on the back? I've caught up with Breaking Bad. Not that I've never watched it myself, but
well, it's definitely worth a watch if people are thinking about putting that on the box set list, because I've seen it and I thought it was pretty good.
Stranger Things, I thought, but there you go.
Oh, very good. Yeah, also very good. So for me, a key part of that is the functionality of your business before you've even launched it. You've now made a process more efficient. So not having to go out, not having to have samples sent. So you've actually made your process leaner because of this, because of force more than anything else. But because of this situation, you've made your manufacturing process leaner. Because you've adapted to the current situation, which will benefit once we come out of this isolation as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a key area.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I kind of thought of it like Ben, but, you know, you've kind of wrapped it quite well there. And I think a lot of other businesses in various sectors are going to think the same, because there's always been a stigma about working from home. You know, do you do enough? Are they sitting watching the TV and things like that? You know, we've been forced into situations. It'd be interesting to see how many companies now adapt it as part of their working strategy, rather than seeing it as it's a bit of a stigma being at home, you know. And the video calling, you know, I've used the other one, Teams, Microsoft Teams. You know, you can show different files and things as you're talking, drawings and stuff. You know, it has changed the way that we will work. Certainly the way I work, Ben, you're absolutely right. You know, when I do a design change next time, I haven't got to wait a few weeks, or a few weeks, but a week so for it to come from China. We can do it virtually and have the finished article almost sent, and it'll probably save 2 or 3 trips, 2 or 3 parcels, whatever it might be. So it's easy. It's about adapting, and I think everybody's starting to adapt, and you have to adapt to this new norm, and whatever the new norm's going to be. You know, we've successfully had this meeting today, and I know that you've obviously the other ones that you've done, you've successfully had lots of meetings like this. So the engagement's still there, and people like to watch these videos when they've got the time to watch them as well.
And that is a fantastic point. And if you'd like to watch more of the Engagement Trees videos and see some of the other fabulous guests we've had alongside Simon, you should definitely hit the subscribe button and make sure that you're tuning into all of our future videos. Simon, thank you very much for your time today. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and revisiting the journey that you've been on. I'm very much still looking forward to getting a pair of ones on my feet when you eventually launch later in the year. Size 11. But yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, watch with trepidation and excitement to see the actual official launch of your trainers. Very much looking forward to it. Sarah, would you like to finish on any notes?
Just a big thank you, Simon. Obviously, you've come on a bit of a journey with the Strive Group for the last year, and like Ben said, it's always a pleasure. It's inspirational that even at this time you're kind of moving ones forward, and I too look forward to running in a pair.
I look forward to you both having a pair. I really do. When I stop changing my mind of what they look like, we might get some actually made. But yeah, look, guys, always a pleasure. You know that. I've enjoyed working with you these last 12 months. We've had some great meetings and stuff. So yeah, it's been great. Thanks very much for this for today as well. Really good, really good.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
And that is the end of another episode of the Engagement Tree, and we look forward to seeing you in the very near future and some more special guests. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.